So I'll finish. I have 3 minutes. That's right. I won't give up these 3 minutes. כן, אין שום בעיה. בשמחה. I see I'm missing Harold. I hope he's well. Okay. So please, kindly, everybody, you have the sheet from last week. כניסה לסכנה, that one. You see? כניסה לסכנה להצלת כלל ישראל. כן, כולם קיבלו? Okay, fantastic. So I'll give like mamash few minutes. This is a series. Yeah, this is a series. What I'm teaching here, and I'll again remind the basic things we've seen last week, and we'll go from there. Okay, and that is we as background. All right, we said that we know that there are only 3 transgressions, avodah zarah, gilui arayos, shfichus damim, only 3 transgressions that it is expected from a Jew to even give his life for. Meaning, you should not transgress, you should follow the commandment, not to violate this negative commandment, even if it costs your life. But it's only 3. Avodah zarah, gilui arayos, v'shfichut damim. Consequently, there was an argument, and we saw it on the poskim, at a group of poskim, that, okay, you have a commandment to save a Jew that is in danger, not to ignore it, no doubt. It's a negative commandment of lo tamud al dam re'echa, and a positive commandment of hashavas aveda. Okay? Great. But there's a limit to it. If it involves risking your life, serious risking of your life, of course, not a risk of life that you do in your ordinary life. All of us cross streets, even though there is a minimal risk there. So we're not talking about that, yeah. But we're talking about a substantial risk. By the way, it doesn't have even to be a majority, but let's say a substantial, a real risk. Okay, a real risk, meaning there is a chance that you'll die while saving him. All right, so you're not commanded to do it. That was one group. Okay. Then we saw the Hagahot Maimoniot in the name of Yerushalmi that had a different position. He said, no. The commandment to save another person that you see that is in danger is even if it involves risking your life. How does this opinion answer the argument of the other group? So we said, since his life, let's say that's the scenario, is in 100%, meaning if you won't do anything, he's going to die 100%, and yours is only a suffix, so therefore, here, you need to risk yourself. Sorry. That was a mistake. Okay.
Your wife?
First of all, it is my wife. Just since you asked, yeah, it is my wife, but it's okay. She forgot that I'm giving a share now, and it's fine. I know it's not an emergency. At any rate, no, it's a suffix hanota levadai. Okay. Now, the only thing I didn't figure out in this new cell, how do you turn it off and you make it that while the call, okay, I won't get you into details. Okay, now I have to shush it.
Is there an iPhone?
No, wait a minute. To shush it somehow. Here it is. Great. All right. Now, no, just while the call to do it, that it will extend afterwards. But okay, in the previous one I knew how to do it. At any rate, there's probably a way to do it. At any rate,
it's in the Yerushalmi.
Exactly. That's the Bavli and the Yerushalmi Machlokes. At any rate, so if we'll take the position that said, and here we're getting to what we at the end of this year. So what we said, what will happen though if Klal Yisrael is at risk? Is that machloket that I said regarding Rebbe Yisrael, meaning regarding an individual, should you risk it, is it applicable there? Okay? Because there is room, of course, let's put it this way. According to the opinion which is perhaps a dominant opinion, because we saw that some poskim hold that that's the Bavli's opinion, in the Rif, in the Rambam, in the Rosh. Meaning the first opinion that I said, that you don't have an obligation to risk your life in order to save another Jew, an individual, okay? Will that position go even more extreme and say that you don't have even to risk your life even for saving Klal Yisrael? Now, what could be the argument for such an extreme position? I mean, intuitively extreme position. Think about it. Klal Yisrael is in sakana. You have an option to save them, but only what? It involves risking your life. No, you don't have an obligation to do that. Now, that seems very extreme intuitively. But logically, there is an argument, right? Because if it's... formally, halachically. The halachic argument is... is it one of the three averot that one should risk himself? No. Klal Yisrael b'sakana, I didn't see it as one of the list of the three. So I don't have an obligation. Okay? That will be like the formal argument here. Now, interestingly enough, and one might say astonishingly enough, we've seen at the end of last week's class a serious rabbi that is holding that position explicitly and writes it again and again. Writes it both in Meshech Chochma, his Reb Meir Simcha Midvinsk, in his interpretation to Sefer Shmot, and also writes it in his commentary on Maimonides, the Rambam. Reb Meir Simcha Midvinsk held that extreme opinion that Phil here said that doesn't make sense, and I agree with you that this opinion doesn't make sense, but formally, halachically, we can understand the argument. Reb Meir Simcha Midvinsk holds that one is not obligated to risk his life, even if it's for the sake of saving Klal Yisrael. And he based his opinion on two grounds. Okay, I mean, aside from the formal halachic argument that I said now, okay, what he said is, A, he proves from Sefer Shmot that God told Moses, go back to Egypt because all the people that were after you to kill you are dead now. So Reb Meir Simcha said, why did God say it this way? Only because now there's no risk for you to go. Therefore you can go. Okay, that was one argument. Of course we can interpret the psukim that you don't need to read them with this halachic inference, but that's what Reb Meir Simcha said. More interesting, he was inferring from the Rambam that quoted the Mishnah. The Rambam quoted and even made a little more extreme. The halacha regarding one who kills by accident a fellow Jew, as we know, one who kills a murderer, one that killed by accident, has to go to Galut, to Ir Miklat, to sheltered refuge, whatever sheltered city, and he understood that the Rambam says that he doesn't go out, this murderer, he doesn't go out of the city, even in order to save Klal Yisrael. And Reb Meir Simcha, and if he did it, the Rambam says, ve'im yatsa, with a vav, ve'im yatsa, and if he went out, hetir atzmo lamita. That means that he is, his blood is mutter, meaning that the blood revenger can kill him. Said Reb Meir Simcha, you know what? That last sentence of the Maimonides is actually the reason behind the whole halacha. Why is he not going out even in order to save Klal Yisrael? Because he is not obligated to risk his life. That's the reason. The last sentence of the halacha of the Rambam, that if he went out, he may be killed, okay, is actually the reason why he is not going out for any matter, including saving Klal Yisrael. Come all the Achronim, and here, go please to your source sheet. Kindly go to your source sheet. In page 2 in the bottom. Page 2 in the bottom, please. and I'll just make the spoiler here, and then we'll read it inside. Many Achronim, including Rav Sternbuch here quoted in Sridei Esh, say no, that's not the right way to read the Rambam, with all the respect. It's not the pshat of the Rambam. The pshat of the Rambam is based on the Mishnah. There is a special halacha regarding Rotzeach Bishgaga, that what? That he's not allowed to go out of the shelter. It doesn't. It has nothing to do with a general discussion whether you have to risk your life, you don't have to risk your life. No, that's not the topic. The topic is dafka the halachos of a rotzeach, of an inadvertent murderer, of someone that killed inadvertently. Mm-hmm. And regarding him, there is a special halacha learned from a pasuk in that paragraph that says lanus shama, and says 3 times lanus shama, 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 as the Mishnah says, sham tehe mitato, sham tehe kvura. There he should live, there he should die, there he should be buried. That's a special gzeros hakatuv that says that he cannot go out, no matter what. Because of that halacha, therefore, if he goes out, then the blood revenger can kill him. Meaning, that last sentence of the Rambam is not the reason, it's the result, the outcome. That's the pshat of the Rambam. The only thing that is left to explore, and I did answer it at the end of the shir, is, wow, this halacha regarding Rotzeach Bishgaga, that he doesn't go out even to save Klal Yisrael, as part of his punishment, because he was a Rotzeach Bishgaga, that seems very extreme. Okay? But now let's first see it inside. Look at the bottom of page 2. Yeah? He says, this proof that Reb Meir Simcha Midvinsk brought from the Rambam, that one doesn't have an obligation. End of page 2. Okay? End of page 2. It's here. Okay? Yeah, he says, this is not a conclusive proof that one has no obligation to save Klal Yisrael. There is a gzeras hakatuv that it says he should be there till the Kohen Gadol passes away. Nothing permits him to get out of the sheltered city. Only the death of the Kohen Gadol that is causing atonement for all this. Ayin Sham, look over there, the Yalfinan Mahaikra that we learned from that pasuk, Deino Yotze, Afilu le'atzalat Klal Yisrael, that he should not go even in order to save Klal. Aval Einatam, but it's wrong to say that the reason why he can't go out is Mishum Deim Yatzai Tir Atzmo Lemita, as Reb Meir Simcha. That's not the reason, that's the outcome. V'chen meduyak leshon HaRambam. And this is the precise words of Maimonides. Shelo siyem de'im yatsa hetir atzmo lamita, because he didn't say with a daled, de'im yatsa, or with a shin, she'im yatsa. Like, that's a clause. Daled and shin means because. Okay? Well, the Rambam didn't write this because. You should not go out because then you're risking yourself. If it was written that way, then indeed it would explain. The explanation would have been that there is a word in English that I was looking for and I don't find it. That it implies that this is the reason why he's not going out. As indeed, as the Or Samach explained, rather, what Maimonides did do, he didn't write de'im or she'im, rather he just added kevan de'ein lo heter latzet, since he has no heter to go out, im yatsa heter atzmo lemita. Therefore, if he went out, then, the blood revenger can kill him. Yeah, he's right. 1 second. So, first of all, the proof of the Rambam from the Rambam is dismissed. Okay? Meaning, the Rambam definitely, and especially when you look at his source, the Mishnah, that the source for Ovid were psukim, local psukim regarding the laws of the Rotzeach Bishgaga. Therefore, it's very, very clear that there is no proof for that extreme position of the Reb Meir Simcha Midvinsk from the Or Sameach. And the Rambam tells us a totally different story, as explained here, is that there is some law, one of the details of the laws of the one that kills inadvertently, that even for the most extreme cause, including saving Klal Yisrael, he should not go out of the sheltered city. Okay.
If the Goel Adam dies, can he leave?
No. Okay? He needs to stay till the Kohen Gadol dies. But I don't want to go into details of the Rotzeach Bishgaga things.
There's no sikun.
Okay, what?
There's no sikun, that's what I was trying to say.
No sikun? Well, I don't know. That maybe there are other relatives of the niftar. Goel Adam is not necessarily a specific person. Yes?
I think that's a good example of the stupidity of functioning halachically.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Why do I say that? Because the risk of it's in a system where the Rotzeach is at risk because the guy can kill him. Now, we don't have that. The society doesn't have that. And therefore, if you want to bump off somebody by accident, you wait till the Kohen Gadol is sick, you get a certificate, and you go up freely when the Kohen Gadol dies, and you kill whoever you want to kill, or be killed by. It's a totally irrelevant thing. And to build on that type of situation is counterintelligent.
First of all, we're not building on it. As you know, today the Rotzeach Bishgaga laws are not applicable today. There's no Kohen Gadol, there are no sheltered cities, but that's not the point. Let me, Phil, let me just explain. For our topic, a situation of sakana to Klal Yisrael, what is the how do we understand why a soldier, okay, or any other civilian, as we'll see, if even though there are only 3 averot that one should risk himself, what is the halachic justification still for what seems to us very intuitive, that he has to risk himself? That's what we're working on.
Yeah.
Now, the Reb Meir Simcha Midvinsk brought a certain extreme position. He brought a proof to his point from Maimonides. We said no. On the contrary, Maimonides implies, certainly doesn't apply this. Now, the thing is this. Still, we need to explain now what's left. What seems from the simple wordings of the Mishnah, and definitely Maimonides, is how come, again, since we know that Pikuach Nefesh is Doche, Kol HaTorah Kula, Shabbos and Kol HaTorah Kula, what happened? How come a Rotzeach Bishgaga is not allowed to go to save people? L'chora, okay, there is a law that he should stay in the city, but l'chora, just like Pikuach Nefesh overrides Shabbos, it should also override the laws of Rotzeach Bishgaga. Okay, so that is a very, very troubling question. Meaning, yes, we saw that Reb Meir Simcha Midvinsk's opinion, A, doesn't make sense intuitively. It seems too extreme that one is not obligated to risk his life in order to save Klal Yisrael. So A, it is counterintuitive. And B, it definitely is not the pshat of the source from which he wants to prove his point. But we have to be intellectually honest and say, well, the other explanation of the Rambam, which is the pshat, and that we just presented, also requires explanation. Because how come you say that this implementing the punishment of the Rotzeach Bishgaga will override even Pikuach Nefesh? Okay? Now, because of that problem, look, please, I know it's not according to the order, kindly go to page 4. the last page of the sword. Yeah, the last page. Do you have one? It's okay, yeah, no problem. So page 4, at the top, you see, Minchas Asher. Minchas Asher, for those who don't know, is Reb Asher Weiss Shlita, my neighbor in Ramot, one of the Gedolim. So Reb Asher Weiss, in his book Minchat Asher, I'll just give a little background, he disagrees with Reb Meir Simcha Mitvinsk. He agrees with the last explanation in the Rambam, meaning that the fact that if he goes out, he risks his life, is not the reason for the halacha, for why the Rambam says don't go out, even to save Klal Yisrael, but it's an outcome. Okay, he agrees with that, meaning with the last explanation. However, he is stuck with my last question. How come, and by the way, it's not only him, a whole group of Achronim say, how can we understand the Mishnah and the Rambam that even for Pikuach Nefesh, the Rotzech Bishgaga could not go out? Doesn't make sense. Seems to violate all the rules that we know. So it says, the Minchas Asher, the following. Val ken nir'a, you see the Vav Ein Kaf? The top of page 4. Mamash top. Yeah. Ah, you have it. So, no.
What about page 3?
No.
Also the bottom of page 3.
No, there are 2 formats of the sheets here. I see. So, the bottom of page 3. Yeah, bottom of page 3, thank you. The Al Kenira. Bottom of page 3, I, for some reason, have a different version. You have my version. So there are 2 versions. Either the top of page 4 or the real bottom of page 3. Okay, 2 versions. Okay, you have the top, bottom of page 3. Okay, it should start with the Vav Ein Kaf. No, it's not a repeat. It's 2 different pieces. Okay? ועל כן נראה כמו שכתבתי במנחת אשר במדבר. Okay? That's where we hold. Okay?
Right.
ועל כן נראה כמו שכתבתי במנחת אשר במדבר, דלעולם אין גדר סכנה גמורה אם פלוני הוא שר צבא ישראל או אלמוני במקומו. Okay. We need, I see, in order to understand him clearly, I know I'm turning you from one source to the other, but there's no choice. Go to page 2 for a second, temporarily. Go to page 2. Again, we'll have probably 2 versions, but though here I think it's probably will be less significant. You see there in the middle of the page, Rambam?
Yeah.
The middle of page 2, there is Rambam. Okay?
Yeah.
All right, everybody? The middle of page 2, there is Rambam. I think that's according to all versions. Okay? So the Rambam here, let's read again that halacha. Hagole eino yotze mi'ir miklato le'olam. The one that, the inadvertent murderer that is expelled, is going out of the sheltered city. He's not going out of that city forever. Meaning till the Kohen Gadol dies. Ve'afilu ledvar mitzvah. He says he shouldn't go out even for doing a mitzvah. Or le'edut, or even for a testimony. Bein edut mamon, bein edut nefashot. Whether it's a testimony for a monetary testimony, or even a testimony regarding capital punishment. Afilu le'atzil nefesh veduto. I want you to remember that clause because I'll use it. He doesn't go out even in order to save a life of someone by his testimony.
Does he get punished if he goes out?
No. I mean, he is risking his life.
Yeah.
Okay, but, by the way, he might get punished because according to the way we interpreted the Mishnah and the Rambam, he is not allowed to go because that's part of his punishment as a Rotzech Bishgaga. But let's now, afilu le'atzil nefesh be'eduto, even in order to save someone's life by his testimony, or to save from the army or the river or a fire. Ve'afilu kol Yisrael tzrichin liteshuato. And even if all the people of Israel need his help. Okay, so that's the Rambam, you remember it? Now let's go back to the top of page 4 or bottom of page 3, depending on the version that you have. So top of page 4 or bottom of page 3 says the Minchat Osher. The Minchat Osher says the following: therefore, meaning after he's stuck with the question, how come the Rambam and the Mishnah don't allow the Rotzech Bishgaga to go out even for Pikuach Nefesh? So he says, therefore it seems that it's not really a total sakana if one is the chief army of staff or someone instead of him. And even though all the people of Israel need him, ein ze begeder pikuach nefesh mamash. Meaning he says, whether Herzia Levi is the chief army of staff or Ha'aluf Turjeman is the chief army of staff or any other of the Alufim, it might be critical. One might be a little better than the other, but at the end of the day, this is not a definition of pikuach nefesh, i.e., meaning the one that seems to be the best candidate to be the chief army of staff is now in the sheltered city. The fact that you don't let him to go out, even though actually the people of Israel need him to save, but that's not pikuach nefesh, because there'll be someone else.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe not as good, but there'll be someone else. And therefore he says this is not a pikuach nefesh. And even though the Rambam says afilu lehatzil nefesh, mashma lichora de'achen medubar ba'atzalat nefashot, and even though the Rambam says clearly, even to save a life of someone by his testimony, so it seems that what could be a greater pikuach nefesh than this? Mashma lichora, so Rabbi Asher admits that the pshat of the Rambam here is that indeed it's in order to say this is a case of pikuach nefesh. Ein baze kol teima, shebevadai be'atzalat nefashot askina. Because, of course, we're dealing with saving lives of Jews. Ein din pikuach nefesh, but there is no law that of pikuach nefesh that dafka this guy should take care of it, but not the other guy. All right, as you see, Rabbi Asher Weiss, with all the respect, because I'm going to disagree with him humbly, makes here acrobatics. He understands that Reb Meir Simcha Midvinsk's explanation is wrong in the Rambam. That's on the one hand. On the other hand, he can't comprehend, and I understand him, the pshat of the Rambam, that the punishment for a Rotzech B'Shgaga will not override, that it will override Pikuach Nefesh. Pikuach Nefesh should override this. So what does he say? He makes a dochak in the Rambam. Let's be honest. He kvetches the Rambam. He says, the Rambam talks about, yes, the people of Israel need him, but it's not Pikuach Nefesh. Had it been Pikuach Nefesh, and no, I just want, and here, Phil, we get to your point. Had it been, Rabbi Asher Weiss claims, had it been a case of Pikuach Nefesh, that actually you need that person that is now stuck in the sheltered city, you need him in a halachic category of Pikuach Nefesh, then of course he will go out and we will defend him. Either we will take the blood revenger and lock him for that moment, or we'll put guards on this. We'll bring guards together with that Rotzech B'Shgaga, the person that killed inadvertently. But if it's a case of Pikuach Nefesh, of course. Now, with all the respect, I understand the motive of Rabbi Asher Weiss. But as I said, it's not the pshat of the Rambam. He even feels that. He even senses that. The Rambam's words are extremely clear. Afilu lehatzil nefesh be'eduto. And as opposed to what he says, he does here a certain trick, which I don't like. Bishlama, I understand regarding the chief army of staff. Yes, I can see what he says, that it's not dependent only on one person. There could be always another person. With that testimony, there's no replacement. What does he do you mean it could be worked out with other people? This guy knows the testimony, and the other guy, and no one else knows the testimony. It seems from the Rambam that this is the scenario. The pshat of the Rambam is that the scenario is there is someone who killed someone else inadvertently. Okay? Now he is punished and he's in the sheltered city. Now there is Stam with no connection to it. Someone that is now in a trial, yeah, and is subject to be in capital punishment. Okay? There's only one person in the world that could save him by a testimony. And that is the guy that is in the sheltered city. And the Rambam says clearly, no, he won't go out. Okay? Maybe you don't understand the Rambam. Maybe you don't like what the Rambam says. But that's the Rambam. Okay? So, one second. So with all the respect to Rav Asher Weiss, that's not the explanation of the Rambam. Rather, we have to meet the challenge and understand how come this punishment, that's the pshat of the Mishnah, there, shamte, mitato, shamte, kvuato. Why, even in a case of pikuach nefesh, the one who killed inadvertently cannot go out. Now, the explanation is written very nicely. We won't read all of it because it's long. Those who read Hebrew, I highly recommend you to read the entire explanation. Go back to page 3. Those who were in page 4, go back to page 3, and you see Hagaon Rabbi Isser Yehuda Unterman, Rabbi Unterman. Rabbi Unterman, for those who know, he was the second chief rabbi of Israel. Actually not the second, the third. There was Rav Kook, then there was Rav Herzog, and then there was Rav Unterman, who came from all the British people now are. Rabbi Unterman. So Rabbi Unterman says the following. Very nicely. By the way, other Achronim say the same. He's a little more extreme in his explanation, but even if you don't go as far as him, the core is there. Achen, therefore, he says, indeed, after he dismisses the opinion of Rav Meir Simcha Midvinsk and says it's not the pshat of the Rambam, etc. He makes here a lot of questions over him, so let's skip that. We did a lot, and then he says, look you see in the middle of his explanation, Din Hagalut. You see that there are three dots, and then it says Din Hagalut. People see that? Yeah, everyone has the spot. Din Hagalut. Din Hagalut says Rav Unterman. Din Hagalut hu kmo onesh mita al harigat nefesh. You need to understand. One who killed a person inadvertently, the galut is kind of, I'll say it in my word, a ransom. Meaning he really should have been killed. Even though it was inadvertently. Why? Because spilling someone else's blood, even by accident, is a terrible thing. So the only way, instead of mitah, he is going to galut. Shal yedei, and now he explains why is it like. What is the analogy between the galut? By the way, the analogy, I'll be a little Zionist here. Yeah, we're allowed to be Zionist here, right?
We better be.
Look, galus in the Tanakh. Here, I heard you had an amazing share of Tanakh here before me. So since I'm jealous, I'll also say something about Tanakh. Look, galut in the Tanakh clearly is equivalent to death. When someone, by the way, we see it today, even a little bit, all the people from the south and the north that are now outside of their home, it's not ordinary life. It's something very, very deep. Now, if we'll be more extreme, when Am Yisrael is expelled from his nation, it is in a sense a dead nation. Meaning a nation that doesn't live in its territory, rather scattered amongst the Gentiles, etc. On a national level, that is a death. Okay? Cain, when he kills Hevel, what does he get? You're going to travel around, you will have no home. You're expelled. Galus. Adam Arishon, when he ate from Eitz Hadat, what was his punishment? It was said that you will die. What? Okay, there was mercy. He didn't die. Exile. Exile has an analogy in Tanakh, and makes sense, to death. So that's what Rav Unterman is saying correctly. The guy killed inadvertently, he has a punishment of galut. He has a punishment of galut. And now he continues. By being exiled, she'al yedei zeh, you see it's still in the first line, in the middle of it, after the three dots. She'al yedei zeh hu nichrat v'nivda legamrei mikol ha'olam hachitzoni. By being expelled to the sheltered city, he is disconnected totally from all the external world. Ve'ein lo shum kesher, and he has no kesher to all the ones that are outside of it. Ki legabei ha'olam ha'rachav, because regarding the broad world, he is as if he is not. Till the death of the Kohen Gadol. Where do we learn that? That his life now became extremely limited only to the sheltered city. And everything that is outside of the sheltered city, it's as if doesn't exist regarding him. He is expelled from it. He is a dead man regarding it. דבר זה למדנו ממה שהתורה הזכירה הגולה 3 פעמים שמה. The Torah, we learned that from the Xeris HaKatuv of 3 times reading Shama. Shama te'eh dirato, there he should live. Shama te'eh mitato, there he should die. Shama te'eh gvuato, there he will be buried. בזה אנו רואים גזירת הכתוב שכל חיותו והווייתו של הגולה מצומצמת אך שמה בלבד. All of his livelihood is only in that town. וביחס לעולם שמחוץ לדמו, regarding the world that is outside of it, he is like a dead person that is freed from mitzvos. There is no obligations on him regarding anything that is outside of that city, simply because he's a dead man regarding whatever that is outside of that city. Okay. All right. We'll stop here. Now please go. So we had 3 explanations to that Rambam and some. The Rambam that says that, based on the Mishnah and Makos, that someone that killed inadvertently is not going out, even in order to save Klal Yisrael, even in order to save a person with his testimony. Okay? First explanation was Reb Meir Simcha. You know why he doesn't go out? Because one is not obligated to risk his life even to save Klal Yisrael. We dismissed that explanation in the Rambam. Doesn't seem, A, doesn't make sense. B, that doesn't seem in the words of the Rambam. Then there's Rav Asher Weiss's explanation. No, he's not allowed to go. Why? Because of Shama Teheh Kvurato, Shama, because of the laws of Ritzach Bishgaga. However, it doesn't make sense that Pikuach Nefesh will not override it. Therefore, we have to explain that the Rambam doesn't talk about a case of Pikuach Nefesh. We humbly disagreed because the Rambam does talk about a case of Pikuach Nefesh. So, the third explanation, yes, it seems extreme. Ritzach Bishgaga is not going out even in a case of Pikuach Nefesh, even in a case that he is needed to save Klal Yisrael. And why is that? Because regarding anything that is outside of this sheltered city, he's not alive. Okay? It's like a death penalty that is translated to be buried in that city. Yeah?
So he's on his way to the Yeram Miklat. Could he make
a U-turn?
A U-turn and testify?
No, he is obligated to run to the Ir Miklat. Okay? He is, after he kills, he's obligated to run. Now, if he won't do that, as Phil said, okay, he won't do that, and the blood revenger might kill him. That's all. We won't provide guards, okay? If I'll make Rabbi Asher Weiss's claim. Yeah?
Wouldn't it be appropriate to infer that, given what Rav Unterman says, that even if he went out, his testimony wouldn't be trusted?
Oh, whether his testimony will be trusted or not is a separate discussion. Okay, it's a nice question. Dafka, I tend to say that it will be trusted, but okay. Chevre, we must see the Mishpat Cohen. The Mishpat Cohen, that's page 4. Page 4, you see. page 4. And let me just explain. After we dismissed Rameir Simcha's Midvinsk proofs for such an extreme opinion that one is not obligated to risk his life, even for, say, Klal Yisrael, okay? Now we're back to our topic, and our topic to the main focus of our topic. Since intuitively we say, yes, a person, even if he's not obligated to risk his life to save an individual, a fellow individual, he's definitely obligated to risk his life in order to save Klal Yisrael, which seemed to us an intuitive position. Now let's see the logic and halachic basis for it, okay? And now the halachic basis, let's look in Mishpat Kohen. Now I have to tell you, Rav Kook, Zecher Tzadik Livracha, who was a giant, Haraya Kook, as you know, the big Rav Kook, the original. So Rav Kook, you need to understand, he was a man of magnitude. That means he was a giant in Lamdanut and Halacha, and he was a giant, as we know, in Jewish thought and Kabbalah. No, but both. That's the point. I'll share with you a personal story that you didn't read anywhere. My father, Sheyichya, learned in the yeshiva Kol Torah in the 50s for 1 year before he went to the university. Which is pretty rare, by the way, to go from Kol Torah to the university, but that's a different story. Okay? So he was for a year in Kol Torah, a young boy. And there was a famous mashgiach in Kol Torah, and his name was Harav Gedalia Eizman. Rabbi Eizman. He was known as the mashgiach, the mythological mashgiach of Kol Torah. And guess what? Rav Eizman, earlier in his life, studied in Merkaz Harav. Merkaz Harav was a very small yeshiva then. And he studied in Merkaz Harav. And he said, he was totally Haredi, Rav Eizman. He almost threw my father from Kol Torah when he discovered that he is communicating with the university. So he was definitely Haredi. But Rav Eizman told them about Rav Kook something. He said, people are focusing on some aspects of Rav Kook. His tremendous Ahavat Yisrael. As we know, Rav Kook had a gigantic Ahavat Yisrael. He says that's true. Rav Kook is a big gadol in Ahavas Yisrael. But you need to understand that everything is big with Rav Kook. His chumras are very big. That's true. He was a big machmir. He has big chumras. He has big lamdanot. Everything there is in a big magnitude. Okay? So yeah, Ahavat Yisrael also is very big. He has a big heart also. He has everything there is big. Yeah? That's what he told them. And since I mentioned that, I'll say another thing. We said that his Ahavas Yisrael was very, very big. So it says that the Brisker Rav, you know, the Briskers, the Soloveitchiks, they're very much into family. You know, so let's say a secular relative once visited the Brisker Rav, and he was very nice to him. So people asked him, why are you so nice to this, heretic, whatever? He says, what do you mean he's mishpacha? So they told him, you understand? You see, Rav Kook, for him, all Am Yisrael is mishpacha. Okay? So now, after we said, why did I make this intro? Because here we will, I'm sure in these shiurim of Beit Midrash Boker, I'm sure that in the series of Beit Midrash Boker, you learned many paragraphs of Rav Kook in the field of Jewish thought, etc. In this series, we will study today and in our next meeting, pieces from Rav Kook from his halachic writings, and you'll see how it's intertwined. There are two big tshuvos of Rav Kook. Two very big tshuvos of Rav Kook in his shut, response set. It's called Mishpat Kohen. You see, Shut Mishpat Kohen, Inyanei Eretz Yisrael, Siman Kuf Mem Gimel. So there are two simanim there, very long ones. And by the way, with a lot of intellectual, I have to say, pleasure for those who like learning. Because he is so, it's very comprehensive and very long. Kuf Mem Gimel and Kuf Mem Daled. Yeah, these two tshuvot of Rav Kook that are widely quoted, some paragraphs of them, as we'll say. And he is dealing with our topics. Now, you need to understand, there are not a lot of poskim that dealt with issues of wars of Israel, etc. Simply because we were for 2,000 years in exile. When you don't have sovereignty, then all the laws of Medina, laws of state, are not dealt with a lot. Rav Kook is here the pioneer. Rav Kook is dealing with it extensively. And then following him, there is the Tzitz Eliezer that writes about it in Hilchot Medina. Tzitz Eliezer is a posek that I even had this chut to hear him. I mean, he's later than Rav Kook. Rabbi Eliezer Yudah Waldenberg dealt a lot with halacha and refuah and others, but also has pieces on Hilchot Medina. Rabbi Israeli dealt with Hilchot Medina in his book. Rabbi Asher Weiss now deals with it and says not a lot of rabbis dealt with it because we were in exile. He writes that. Unfortunately, he doesn't quote Rav Kook, but I tend to say that it's simply because he just didn't learn it, doesn't know it. But Dafka, and what's puzzling is that he says things misvara that Rav Kook wrote before him. We'll show that later. At any rate, Rav Kook has very long tshuvas on this, and I'll just say his point of the part. How did it start? There was a rabbi called Rabbi Pines, and this Rabbi Pines, Shlomo Zalman Pines, he deals with a certain question. Regarding the laws of when should you give up your life in order not to violate a negative commandment. So today we started with this, and we said only for 3 negative commandments, Avodah Zarah, Gilui Arayot, and Shfichut Damim, only for these 3, one is supposed to give up even his life in order not to violate them. Right? Nachon? So 3 averot. Now, the question is the following. Let's say a person is a chassid, pious, how do you say it? Pious, nachon?
Yeah.
Let's say there is a pious person, and he says, I know that I'm not obligated to give up my life for, let's say, not eating nevela. The halacha is that I could eat the nevela and not die. But let's say I have an extreme love to God, and bidiyuk. I will give up my life, okay, even though I'm not obligated to give up my life. For all kinds of reasons. Is it possible or not? Is he allowed to do that or not? So here, wait a minute, listen. Maimonides is very clear in his code book. According to Maimonides, this is a binary system, as we say in computers. There are only 2 options. Either you're obligated to give up your life, or you're prohibited from giving up your life. Meaning, no. Let's say for nevela, you're not allowed to give up your life. You have to eat the nevela and not die. Yeah, a Gentile comes to you and says, either eat that nevela, or I'm shooting you. You should eat the nevela. And if you didn't eat the nevela, but you said, "Oh, I love God, I prefer that He's going to shoot me," you did it wrong. You did an avera according to the Torah.
But he's dead.
That's okay in Shamayim. You'll be punished in Shamayim. By the way, that's Maimonides' position in the code book. It's a binary system. Either you need to give up your life, or you're prohibited from giving up your life. There's no in between that. You're not obligated, but if you do it, it's very nice. It's pious. It's Hasidus. Okay. However, Balei HaTosfot, the Ashkenazi world, Balei HaTosfot, no, they held that there is this middle ground. That what? Bidiyuk, in the times of Shmad, and they claim that there is such a category. There is such a category that even though you're not obligated, but
God bless.
if you want, you can do it. Okay? Now comes Rabbi Penis, and Rabbi Penis wants to claim that even the Rambam agrees with that position, as opposed to how I presented the position of the Rambam. And Rav Kook disagrees with him. Rav Kook says, no, the Rambam holds that it's a binary system. But when there is this discussion, Rabbi Penis tries to bring proofs from all kinds of cases. And for instance, he says, hey, the Rambam says that a soldier in a war should risk his life. Has to, yeah. Now, hello, it's not part of the three Averot, so you see that it's possible. Rav Kook answers, no, there is no proof from a soldier in a war. But while this discussion, Rav Kook lays the foundations to why a person is obligated to risk his life in order to save Klal Yisrael. Our question that says, hey, what is the halachic basis for the obligation of a person to risk his life for Klal Yisrael? After all, it's not one of the three Averot in the list, okay? It's not Avodah Zarah, it's not Gilui Arayot, it's not Shvichut Damim, it's merely Lo Tamod Al Dam Re'echa. So if it's Lo Tamod Al Dam Re'echa, so okay, now it's not Re'echa, now it's Lo Tamod Al Dam Klal Yisrael, but still we didn't find it in the list, okay? So Rav Kook will provide answers to that. Look in Shut Mishpat Kohen, Siman Kuf Mem Gimel. Everyone has it? I believe according to all versions, it's the middle of page 4. I believe it's according to all versions of the source sheet.
It's a little bit up top of the
Yeah. There'll be a slight difference, but it will be still in the middle source in Kuf Mem Gimel. Ule'inyan hatzalat klal Yisrael. Okay, you have it?
No.
What? Ule'inyan hatzalat klal Yisrael. Kvar katavti le'il. He says, I wrote already previously. Delaniut dati mitam ho'at sha'ah ulemigdal milta nagaba. Now he throws an innovative idea. Okay, I think that the reason why a person is obligated, he's not even talking about a soldier, he's talking about every individual, is obligated even to risk his life in order to save Klal Yisrael. It's called, there is the pasuk v'chai bahem. So he says, mitam ho'at sha'ah ulemigdal milta nagaba. I need to explain these words because they're hard. There is a sugya in Yevamos. And by the way, we'll dedicate an entire shir for that. I just now give the headlines that Rav Kook gives us. There is a Gemara in Yevamot, Daf Tzadik, a whole sugya, a very long sugya, that we know that Beidin can give, and a prophet, Beidin and a prophet, can give a hora'at sha'ah, a temporary ruling, Eliyahu in Hara Carmel, a temporary ruling that violates the regular halacha, and they're doing that temporary ruling in order lemigdal milta. Let's say there is an aveira that the people of Israel are unfortunately too busy with, and the Beidin or the Navi want to stop it. So in order to stop it, they can even temporarily violate a halacha. The model, Eliyahu in Hara Carmel, one of the models, okay? Eliyahu violated a halacha. He said to make an offering outside of the Beit Mikdash, even though there was a Beit Mikdash. And you're not allowed to do that. But he did it in order to save the people of Israel from Avodah Zarah that they were very, very consumed with. Another example the Gemara gives, Beit Din, there is a halacha, Beit Din makim v'onshin shelo min haTorah. Beit Din, sometimes they give an example how they punished someone who really didn't violate Shabbos, but was only mezalzel in Shabbos, but they gave him lashes, whatever, because the people at that situation were too loose with Shmirat Shabbos. Now comes Rav Kook, and it's a very innovative idea. He says, when Klal Yisrael in Sakana, that's no worse than, let's say, the people of Israel now are busy with Avodah Zarah. If Klal Yisrael, all Am Yisrael are in Sakana, then we will even violate some halachot in order to save Klal Yisrael. So, Beit Din can give this Horat Shah that even though you're not obligated to risk your life, but when Klal Yisrael in Sakana, you have to. Now, there's still a problem with this formulation, and the problem with this formulation, because l'chora these things serve Horat Shah only to violate halacha, but not to create a new obligation. There is a good answer to that, but I'll leave the answer when we'll discuss this thing independently. Because I want to go, I'm now in the beginning of the third line. He says another complication. We said Horat Shah of Beit Din. Where's the Beit Din here? He says, no, in this case you don't need even a Beit Din. Okay? You'll have to explain that. And now, what I want to focus more on is his next sentence. And the fact that you wanted to infer, he says, Rabbi Penis, it's in the third row of Rav Kook. And the fact that you wanted to infer from the a topic of Milchemet Mitzvah, that a soldier risks his life in a Milchemet Mitzvah, you can't infer from this anything. All the issues of wars, they're all the general rule, that Pikuach Nefesh overrides all the obligations of the Torah. This is not relevant to halachot that are referring to Klal Yisrael, and milchamot are obviously wars, are halachot that are regarding Klal Yisrael, and there this concept of v'chai b'hem is not relevant, and he proves this point. Sharei gam milchemet reshut mutereti. After all, there is even a halachic concept of milchemet reshut. So how come you risk lives of soldiers in milchemet reshut? No, because the whole category of v'chai b'hem is not relevant to milchamot that are part of the halachos of klal. Let's go on. ואיך מצינו היתר להכניס נפשות רבות בסכנה בשביל הרווחה? How? Where do you have a heter to risk lives of people only for expanding the borders? אלא דמלחמה והלכות ציבור שאני. Rather, war and hilchot tzibur, that's a different category. And now he says another one. ואולי הוא מכלל משפטי המלוכה. And perhaps the laws of wars are part of the laws of kingdom. He says there is a thing that is called mishpat melucha. Like we know, the melech should not have many horses. But he says it's not only limited to personal laws regarding the king, but there are also categories, halachic categories of mishpatei melucha. Shayu vadai rabim v'nimsarim ba'umah. And there were many laws of wars, of kingdom, that were transmitted in the nation. כמו שכתב הרמב"ם, like, he gives examples. אין רשות למלך להרוג אלא בסייף. The king, when he executes people, then he should do it only by sword, meaning not skila, etc. That's only baiting. So here is an example of laws of the king. וכן שאין לו כוח להפקיר ממון, and that he can't just steal money. וכן הרוגים אלה וכל אלו ועוד כיוצא בזה, I'm 3 rows from the bottom, הם שרידים are remainders that are left to us from the laws of kingdom, שהם אינם על פי גדרי התורה של הלכות יחיד. They're not the same categories of halachot of the laws, the halacha of individuals. He says, with all the respect, the Torah, our Torah is very comprehensive. There is a whole set of halacha, Shulchan Aruch, that are laws of the individual. But there's also a whole halachic category that is called the laws of a nation. So v'chai bahem is, he says, this rule in the Gemara in Yoma that we learned last week, v'chai bahem v'lo sheyamut bahem, yeah, that one should not transgress anything, but rather should live. These are all regarding the laws of an individual. We're not talking here about state and war. Okay, all right. Now, just mamash one sentence. Minchas Asher. Al ken ira dein halacha zo ela b'milchemet Yisrael bilvad. This halacha is regarding laws of the people of Israel. Umidinei milchamahi velo mibai b'milchemet mitzvah shel kibush haaretz. And we're not talking even about the milchemet mitzvah of conquering the land. O milchama neged tzar v'oyev sheba lashmid et Yisrael, which is our case nowadays. A war to protect the people of Israel from an enemy that attacked them. But even in a milchemet reshut, since the Torah permitted the king of Israel to have a war of milchemet reshut, and the nature of war is that you have casualties and people are risking their lives and being killed. So you see that the minute that the Torah listed this category of milchemet mitzvah and milchemet reshut, it already implies that the Torah permitted to risk lives as part of the war. And, okay, then he has a certain suffix that we'll leave for next week. So now I'll tell you the plan for the next two meetings that we have. The first meeting that we have, after we read this Rav Kook, and Rav Kook said two principles here. Yeah, regarding our topic of the obligation to risk your life to save Klal Yisrael. Okay? So, he said two halachic categories. A, Horat Sha'ah. B, Milchemet Mitzvah. Okay? These are two separate arguments. Now, the first shir we'll dedicate to Milchemet Mitzvah. We will explain what is the halachic foundation for the fact that a soldier and a soldier and other are risking their lives to save the people. How do we see where and how we see it in halacha? And I'll say more than that. What gives the halachic foundation to define our situation now as a milchemet mitzvah? After all, there's no king today, so one can make an argument. You know what? If there is a king that announces a war, then it has a category of milchemet mitzvah that includes that the consequences are that a soldier should risk his life. But we don't have a king today. Rav Kook gives a very good answer to that, a simple answer to that. Okay, that's one thing. So the foundations of milchemet mitzvah and how it's applicable in our current situation. That will be the next class. And as long as the time will be left, but I think there will be, at least to say the main things, this innovation of Rav Kook of Horat Shah v'migdar melta, meaning that even if you're not Esther Hamalka or Yael in Sisra, Esther, it wasn't a war with Esther when she went into Achashverosh and risked her life. She wasn't a soldier and it wasn't a war. And yet still, according to Rav Kook, because of Horat Shah, she had to risk her life. So I'll answer the question that I raised there. How come Horat Shah creates an obligation? The answer is it doesn't create an obligation. I'll explain how. But this is for the next. Sure. A temporary halachic ruling.
Connected to what?
What?
Connected to what?
Horat Shah?
Yeah.
It is very simple, but I'm saying how does that create an obligation? Usually in our Horat Shah is Hora'ah to violate